It is literally impossible to go on living without entertaining and encouraging criticism, condemnation, and other shortcoming, weakness, deficiency in our lives, all of which is essential, fundamental, critical, and imperative parts of life in one way or another, which leads not only to the eventual self invincibility, self knowledge, self reliancy, but also paves the way for individual greatness, significance, distinction, authenticity in the world, heavens of because of weakness, criticism, from ourselves because of the kind of shortcomings, failures we suffer from. We have to criticize ourselves. And it's not just that the others are going to criticize ourselves. That is obviously bound to happen. That is meant to happen because the others are always going to have something to say or another regarding ourselves, regarding our talent, authenticity, quality, or about our failure, shortcoming, downfall, etc. Because the others are always going to have their differentiated, one sided, partial judgments, opinions, thoughts, perceptions, and actions against ourselves, either against our talent or because of our shortcoming. But more importantly than that, we have to be able to provide ourselves with constant and non-stop criticism, condemnation, weakness, and judgment also. Alongside, we also have to be able to embrace ourselves, accept our reality, and move forward with time. Because if we cannot criticize ourselves, then we cannot realize our weaknesses, deficiencies, shortcomings, difficulties, either from which we have always suffered in our lives, from which we have always struggled with in our lives for great failures, relationships, and which have caused constant interference and interruptions in our relationships, friendships, successes, ambitions, education, professions, goals, and so on and so forth. And that means the other's criticism is one thing, but being able to criticize oneself is something else entirely. So we have to be able to criticize ourselves also alongside praising ourselves, alongside basically approving of and recognizing ourselves all the time for our merits, successes, talents, skills, knowledge, intelligence, character. That is one thing. But we have got our weaknesses, shortcomings, failings, and obviously malfunctions also, which also had to be recognized, understood by ourselves, and we had to criticize all those bad parts and failings and intentional mistakes by ourselves. And we have to praise ourselves also from time to time because we just cannot always afford to criticize and judge ourselves over everything because weakness, shortcomings is present in everyone. But then again, if we can come to the realization of the shadow, which is real for everyone, then everything gets resolved instantly. If we can integrate the shadow, if we can understand the unresolved trauma and repressed desire, then everything can be brought to the light and fixed once and for all. Then there will be